was the one thing you guys were excited most about during this year's WrestleMania season? Was it the fact that we got some long-term booking? Was it the fact that we had a WrestleMania that was condensed over 2 nights to 7 matches each night, making it a much easier watch? Or was it Triple H basically taking most of the reins creatively in WWE, meaning WrestleMania 39 was one of the most successful WrestleManias of all time due to the creative aspect that went into the show? That was my favorite part. You know what I'm looking forward to most in the new year of WWE? A Royal Rumble, Elimination Chamber, and WrestleMania season with Triple H 100% in charge, meaning everything, including the WWE Hall of Fame. Some long overdue WWE Hall of Fame inductions may finally be happening because Triple H is in charge for the first time ever of choosing the entire 2024 class. We're going to go over that today and who is notably missing right here on OTS. Bayley looks to have signed a new deal with the company. On top of the Charlotte news, signing the biggest contract in women's wrestling history, WWE inks a new deal with Bayley. And AEW, are they looking for Julia now that WWE has shown interest? Does Julia want anything to do with AEW? I got all that, plus so much more, right here on OTS. Let's start with the Hall of Fame news. For those people wondering about the Hall of Fame and who will be picking the inductees for the class of 2024, Vince McMahon will no longer be involved in that. Up until this past year, the Hall of Fame was basically handpicked by Vince McMahon, and likely after considering some suggestions given to him by others around him. As reported by Dave Meltzer in the Wrestling Observer newsletter, everything will fall under Paul Levesque. Meltzer noted that it's likely that Paul Levesque will follow some of the rules from previous years, such as making sure there's at least one woman, minorities, and limiting the class to one deceased person. Also, in previous years, the company would make sure there was at least one headliner that most fans would know, and at certain times, someone would get inducted for political reasons. It was also noted that if there was a political reason to put someone in that Nick Khan would want, then that would be a factor. But the Hall of Fame is under Triple H's department, and he would, in theory, be the person to sign off on everybody. Now, as we all know, Triple H is a fan of old school wrestling, and not just WWE, so he would most likely be interested in some names that McMahon would have never inducted. Let's take a look at the people in the WWE, in WWE history, that have not been inducted into the Hall of Fame. Now, I'm going to omit Owen Hart because of obvious reasons, Chris Benoit for obvious reasons. Those names will not be mentioned here. Chyna comes to mind. Talk about females. Chyna, right then and there, alone, not with DX. Chyna, all by herself, now a possibility. What about Miss Elizabeth? Also a possibility in the Hall of Fame. Don't know why it hasn't happened. Macho Man's in there. Miss Elizabeth was a part of Macho Man's act and an integral part of Macho Man's act for many, many, many years. Don't know why she's not in the Hall of Fame. Don't understand it. Ivan Koloff, Lex Luger, who should already be in the Hall of Fame. I would put him in the Hall of Fame in 2024. Demolition, Vader. Imagine that. Vader's not in the Hall of Fame. Brian Pillman, the Dynamite Kid. You know who should be in the Hall of Fame this year, being that you're going to be in Philadelphia, and he had a big part in ECW. He was at the height of ECW. Bam Bam Bigelow. Tri-state area here we're dealing with, man. Philadelphia is only an hour out of Atlantic City, New Jersey. Don't really understand why Bam Bam Bigelow's not in the Hall of Fame. We got Bull Nakano, another female. Bull Nakano not in the Hall of Fame. Umaga is not in the Hall of Fame. Imagine that. Umaga is not in the Hall of Fame. Jim Johnston is not in the Hall of Fame. What are we doing? Out of all the names, Jim Johnston should be at the top of the list to be in the Hall of Fame. Earl Hebner should be in the Hall of Fame. Honky Tonk Man. William Regal's not in the Hall of Fame. Sabu's not in the Hall of Fame. Sable. Scott Steiner is not in the Hall of Fame. Just a few names there. If you guys have any more names, I'd be interested to hear them down below in the comment section. But Triple H, now in charge of the Hall of Fame. You know, I will say this. The report from Meltzer did say that he's going to follow the same formula of Vince McMahon. I think at the end of the day, Triple H is going to follow that roadmap. But it's going to be him to undo everything that Vince McMahon just fucking ruined for years. We were calling for some of these names to be inducted year over year over year. I fully trust Paul Levesque to do the right thing here and induct some of these names into the Hall of Fame that are absolutely long overdue. And like I said, he is going to follow the roadmap. He's not going to put, you know, this deceased person and that deceased person. He's not going to have a fucking field day with it and just completely give the middle finger to Vince McMahon. You didn't want to do this for all these years. All these people that you neglected year over year, they're all going in at the same fucking time. No, he's not going to do that. He's not going to do that at all. So it's going to be a very interesting WrestleMania season. Not only do we have a full WrestleMania season with Triple H in charge, meaning Royal Rumble, Elimination Chamber, WrestleMania, and now the Hall of Fame. This may be one for the ages, ladies and gentlemen. Can't wait to see what is going on there. WWE recently signed Charlotte Flair to the most historic women's contract in WWE history. My discussion over it sparked some decent discussion in the comment section of yesterday's video. If you missed it, go and check it out. Obviously, I'm on the side of Mercedes. Obviously, I'm on the side of logic. You give Charlotte that amount of money. Clearly, Mercedes is going to want that type of money. Becky's going to want that type of money. Rhea's going to want that type of money. Bianca's going to want that type of money. And then everybody else coming on up that's got the ceiling of a Charlotte, Tiffany Stratton, Cora Jade, Roxanne Perez, and all these other women down there that are going to be on the main roster sooner rather than later. At some point, they're going to want that type of money, too, when they get to that type of level. So is WWE marketing themselves out of the entire women's division? I don't really understand what they're doing. Now, you guys know I'm not a big fan of Charlotte Flair. She's great. Hall of Famer. No doubt about it. But let's be real. Charlotte Flair has been force-fed down our throats, and Charlotte Flair is a product of the machine. Becky is not. Mercedes is not. Bayley is not. This is why Charlotte is the worst of the horsewomen. Just my opinion. When you guys can name one memorable thing Charlotte Flair has done in the entirety of her 15 title reigns, I'd love for you to fill me in on that, because right now I don't see it, and nobody will convince me that Charlotte is worth the amount of money that WWE is paying her. She's not. Now, you could make an argument that Mercedes is not worth it, too, because she walked out of the company. Great, she walked out on Vince. She walked out on Bruce. She walked out on John Laryngitis. Great. I would have did the same fucking thing. That's something that should be praised. Never mind. Now, is there trust issues there? Sure. Of course, there's trust issues, but I don't think the woman's going to walk out on Triple H. I don't think the woman would ever want to walk out on Triple H. In fact, Triple H wanted to keep her and pay her what she wanted. Is that going to happen? I don't know. But what WWE realistically has done was pay Charlotte Flair and then forget that they got Becky Lynch coming up. What's going to happen then? Are they going to pay Becky Lynch more than what they paid Charlotte Flair? Is Becky Lynch going to be the highest paid woman in WWE history? What's going to happen when it's a ripple effect and it bleeds onto the men's roster? You think the men are going to want to sit with the fact that Charlotte Flair is making more money than them? I don't think so. I don't think that's going to be the situation at all, that they're going to be okay with it. WWE, you know, I know they have the money to do so. I know, but, you know, I find it very strange that they're spending all this amount of money. And granted, they don't really go out and buy free agent here and free agent there, and they don't overload like Tony Khan does. I get it. But at some point, you got to run a fucking business, right? I didn't expect them to be spending all this type of money when Endeavor is going to be cutting here and cutting there and saving money and penny pinching. It's quite different than what we all anticipated. But they got the money to do so, and they want to keep their talent. So be it. They don't want them to go anywhere else. They want to lock them down. They want the future to be intact. I get it. So that's why the news came out that Bayley has now signed a new WWE contract. Right after the news that Charlotte came out and signed a new WWE deal. It was reported by Sean Ross Sapp this week that SmackDown star Bayley signed a multi-year deal with the company. It's not a surprise that the company wanted to keep her because she is one of the anchors of the women's division. Bayley is the leader of Damage Control for now. But with Asuka and Kairi Sane being added to the group without her clearance, it seems as if she will be kicked out of the group soon. That's the storyline, which would also make room for Mercedes to come on in. The return of Sasha Banks could be on the way. The way things have been playing out, it appears that if Bayley will be turning babyface soon in storyline and will likely culminate at WrestleMania 40. Bayley's new signing comes on the heels of Charlotte Flair's reported multi-year deal, historic multi-year deal. There are other deals coming up in the next few months, including Drew McIntyre, Seth Rollins, and Becky Lynch. Bayley, nobody knows what she's making. Nobody knows for how many years. Multi-year deal could be 3 years. Maximum could be 5 years. We don't really know the details of that, but I see it as two things. A, WWE wants a solid core nucleus. They want to nail down all these women. For the women's division, they want a core nucleus because they got major plans for a new revolution in 2024. That's my prediction, okay? Number two, clearly they want to keep everybody here on board and happy because they don't want them going anywhere else. And yeah, AEW is number two, and their women's division really isn't creatively fulfilling, and they don't know how to book women over there. They got a lot of problems over there. But that's not going to stop them from going over there because Tony Khan has an unlimited bank account. Whatever WWE pays them, Tony Khan will be able to match, if not be, better than what WWE offers them. They don't want to risk that. They don't want Bayley or Charlotte or Becky or Seth or anybody else for that matter to go over there and even entertain the thought. We're going to give you what you want. We're going to keep you happy. You're going to stay here and shut your mouth. It's exactly what they're doing. Bayley isn't going anywhere. Bayley will retire in WWE. Bayley's an anchor. The reason why the women's revolution even got started in the first place is because of Bayley and Mercedes. Without Bayley and without Mercedes, you don't see women's wrestling the way you see it now in the United States without Bayley and without Sasha Banks. Fact. So yes, she got her money and good on Bayley. And finally, guys, AEW. Speaking of the women, AEW was rumored to be seriously in talks with major free agents, one of them being Julia. Now, with Julia's name being attached to WWE, clearly everybody was like, well, she's probably talking to AEW as well, being that Tony Khan has a partnership with Bushiroad, and he may want her while she can still go and do her thing in New Japan and Stardom. It's not the case at all. AEW apparently never made any serious play to sign Julia, with WWE looming in from behind with interest on Julia. It's no secret that WWE wants to expand its market share internationally, in Europe, in Mexico, in Japan. They want to host premium live events in these countries, and they booked several shows internationally in 2024 already. So they got France, they got Germany, and they got Australia. More to come as it's a big Nick Khan initiative. It's previously reported there is a massive interest from WWE in Julia, who has some sort of offer from WWE on the table. The New Japan star is not allowed to sign with anyone, including WWE, until her deal is up with Bushiroad in March. Many believed AEW would make an attempt to sign Julia, who is currently the New Japan Strong Women's Champion after defeating Willow Nightingale, but that's not the case. In the latest edition of the Wrestling Observer newsletter, Dave Meltzer reported that AEW is no longer in contention of signing Julia at all. Meltzer wrote, nothing new on Julia past that. AEW has never made a serious play for her, and she's had no conversations with AEW and is not even considering them. It's WWE or staying in Japan, end quote. AEW doesn't want Julia because I honestly believe that AEW, with what they got going on now, I don't think they're going to be it's either Mercedes is going to WWE or AEW. That is it. And right now, nobody believes she's going to AEW after rumors were that she was going to AEW because we saw her at All In and there were creative plans, but then she broke her ankle and then things fell through. She was on her way there. So WWE may not be getting Mercedes, and they are not interested in Julia. Now, Mercedes and Julia were supposed to wrestle upon Mercedes' return to pro wrestling. Triple H may be bringing Julia to WWE, and we may be getting Sasha versus Julia in WWE. Never mind fucking Stardom. But the case may be, I don't think AEW is looking at any major free agents in the women's division at all. I think what AEW is doing right now, and you guys can chime in here and correct me if I'm wrong, they really want to focus on who they are focusing on right now. Thunder Rosa is back. I think she's going to be an integral part on what's going on Saturday night with Collision. Abaddon all of a sudden is coming out of nowhere. I don't know where she came from and why she's on TV. I don't think she's going to be a big part of what's going on. I think she's in it right now because they need women over there. But AEW's got a core nucleus right now. Britt Baker's taken some time away. She's been off television. She's taken a lesser role on television. Toni Storm is at the top. Saray is even taking a spot back. So we got Toni Storm, Mariah May, who's going to play into this Toni Storm storyline, and they're very high on Mariah May. They're going to get her going when they can. Toni Storm, Mariah May, you see where they're going with Julia Hart. You see that Sky Blue's being pushed. Ruby Soho's being pushed a little bit more. AEW is trying to focus on a core nucleus of women so that they can build a division behind youth instead of bringing in somebody like Julia and then Mercedes and everything else. It's easy to do that. What does AEW need to bring in Julia for when they bring in everybody else that's a fucking free agent and they can't even find time or creative for the people that they bring in now? Julia is only going to be another name to that roster, and she isn't going to feel special at all. It also goes to show you that AEW doesn't really have a focus on pushing women's wrestling outside of a core nucleus, giving it one spot on Dynamite and one spot on AEW Collision. They're not really here to push women's wrestling. They'll give it to you. They'll give you a little dose of it, but that's all you get. You get one segment, one 10-minute match, and that is it. It's not like Monday Night Raw where we got 3 hours and you can get 2 or 3 different women's segments or 2 or 3, or 2 matches on Raw. Sometimes we get 3 women's matches on Raw. AEW does 1 every show every week. But it looks like AEW is building a core nucleus of women that they want to feature specifically on television instead of bringing in somebody like Julia, spending more money on someone like Julia to come in and then not really make an impact. Again, correct me if I'm wrong, but you could see where the feeling is on AEW television. They're not really going out there and spending big bucks to fix the women's division. What they need to do is fix the women's division from within and give the division some fucking storylines. That's what they need to do. Julia's not going to help. Julia could fit right in with the damage control stuff, and she could fit in with what Bayley's doing and potentially Mercedes coming in. I think she fit more into the AEW realm or the WWE realm rather than the AEW realm. That's just my opinion there. But guys, that is all I got today. Let me know what you think down below of the stories today on OTS. Let me know what you think of the Hall of Fame, Triple H being in charge of that. Let me know what you think of Bayley signing a new WWE extension. And let me know what you guys think of Julia. AEW is not in the Julia free agent talks at all. Sound off in the comments below. Tomorrow, we got more news. We got news on AEW, Kenny Omega, and a major update on his health. We got a major update on Cody Rhodes. WWE is looking to lock down Cody Rhodes well before his contract is due in 2024. So we will see what happens there with Cody Rhodes. I got all the news tomorrow on Off the Script. Obviously, also with my opinion on everything that we talk about. Thank you guys very much for all your support. Follow me on X at JD from NY206, X, Instagram, TikTok, and Cameo. Hit that subscribe button down below. Turn on the bell for notifications, and go check out all the other content on the channel. Plenty of it with more still to come. Hit that thumbs up, guys, and I'll see you back tomorrow with more extra on this Christmas Eve right here on OTS. I'll see you guys later.